I ask a question?
Yes, it's your turn. It's your turn.
You are a self-confessed former Christian.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
you were born again.
Definitely.
Huh?
Definitely.
Okay. And then at some point, you walked away from that.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay.
You're
okay.
right.
Now, without trying to make it sound like Greek and Hebrew had you walk away from it, can you tell me what that negative epiphany was?
Yes, it was Aristotle's pure muse. It was that genius. It was that genius in the Greek, which is far harder. If you studied any, you know that Greek is capacity that English will never achieve.
We've all heard this before from you.
Yeah, let him answer, though. You ask a question, that's his answer.
I want to know from a personal
That's
standpoint.
what turned me. The beauty in that.
That's
Bob.
it. That's what you claim as an intellectual vortex. But I want to know what the practical decision was based on to walk away from your faith and to deny Christ to the extent to which you have. So, to call it a file, how did you get from here to here? I just want to know.
Wait, what's the plan?
Sounds like he's trying to fish an answer that he has preconceived, and he will keep hammering until Ammon gives him the answer that he wants, so then he can counter that answer. That's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong, though.
I'm doing?
How did you get from your original view of Christ to the about Christ?
Oh, that took years of study. I wrote in a book, Bob, The Chemical Muse that I published, I wrote in that book that Hebrew was the original language of the Greek. Of the Old Testament, just like everybody else says. Right? Just like any panel of scholars would tell you. I wrote that in a book. Why? Because it was not until I actually read and reread and worked with those sources until I realized, oh my God, this thing is not a translation. This is gorgeous, perfect Greek.
Okay.
And it's precise,
okay,
right?
We've heard all this before in his show.
Yeah.
So who published that book?
The Septuagint?
No, the book that you just referred to that you wrote.
Oh, no. He's talking about The Chemical Muse? You're talking about The Chemical Muse, the book that he published?
Yeah. Who published that book?
Who published Chemical Muse? Was it Macmillan?
It's Macmillan now, but originally it's St. James. No, what's his name? It's a saint.
What was the name of the publisher?
Yeah, I'll think of it. Oh,
Steve, Google it.
Thomas Dunn Books and St. Martin's. St. Martin's Press.
St. Martin's Press.
Yes.
Okay. Just curious. No.
Why is that relevant, though?
Why is it relevant?
It's very relevant.
I'm curious.
Because that's not a respected Christian publisher.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know what you're trying to do, Bob Larson, but this will get the public against you. And by connection, against the Christian side. Not a good asset, I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. It's a constant establishment of fallacy over fallacy. It's not a well-respected Christian publisher. There are a lot of well-respected non-Christian publishers, for instance. But still, what does that have anything to do with 35 years of translation experience that this man has? You cannot deny that. You can deny his attacks on Christ. In fact, I expect you to. You're a priest. I would do it, and I'm not a priest. But why are you denying? You should recognize this man's expertise. You're doing character assassination now. It's another fallacy.
It's a publisher that puts out a lot of crazy stuff out there.
I wasn't trying to target a Christian audience, so it was just general.
There was no... Yeah. And was there a theological overview board that passed off on what you wrote in the book? No,
Bob,
it wasn't a theological book.
No, it was no.
It was a history on.
It was a history book. Bob.
It was a history book on Roman pharmacy.
I stand by the offer that I made.
Oh my God!
And I think it's a good offer. I'm getting a little tired of the devil staring me in the face on your shirt.
Why would you? Okay. Anyway,
we're just here to let the audience learn from you guys and listen to these ideas clash.
Exactly.
And I think this is fascinating.
But we have a clash, as I've already...
You made an insinuation, Father, and you said, well, that's not a respectable... And was there a theological board to examine what you wrote on the book? And then he answered. He said, it's a history book. And then you dropped it? Why did you drop it? He gave a reasonable answer to that. So to that, you should say, oh, okay, then I retract it. Because if it's a theological book, it requires theology, although then again, of course, you mean specifically the Catholic Church, but it's not like the Catholic Church is a board that has to approve Protestant writing, for instance. But apart from that, it's a history book. It's about Roman medicine. So what is,
Pretty stated you of apostasy and a departure from the faith, virulent apostasy that is demonically based, in my opinion, and it's very difficult to have dialogue.
How do you think that it's demonically
Well, I
based?
think you're being aggressive and a little bit nasty, and that's not really lending itself well to
We've calmed
Is
it
there
down.
nastiness?
We calmed it down. You called him a coward. That wasn't nice.
I just asked
No,
a
he's
practical.
He's calmed down.
Yeah.
He's calmed
I
down.
asked-
We're
Yeah. No, the devil.
I'm a coward. That wasn't nice.
I just asked
No,
a
he's
practical.
calmed down.
Yeah.
He's calmed
I
down.
asked-
We're
Yeah. No, the
I
devil
asked a
called him
practical
coward.
question and really
the
didn't.
devil called him coward. Let me say this, though. If the priest truly believes that he's talking to a demon or a demon-possessed individual, why are you expecting the demon to be polite? I'm losing a little bit here, because he keeps saying this guy is demon-possessed. If he's demon-possessed, of course he's not going to be polite. I mean, if you want to complain about his rudeness, then maybe drop the demon part, because the demon part, we expect rudeness. If the demon part is dropped, then you can say, hey, as an individual, you're being rude. I don't appreciate that. Okay?
Get an answer as to
Yeah. Okay, what was your question? I'm sorry. I'll answer
how
it again.
and when,
Yeah.
leaving the Greek and the Hebrew out of it and all of
Yes.
that intellectual posturing, just how and when, what age did you walk away from the faith?
I was 21,
Okay.
and I was sitting in the room that I was renting with Jose, who's a veterinary student. It was a brilliant time. And I was sitting there reading Aristotle, and I realized, oh my God, the gorgeousness of this universe and the reason. It's so beautiful. It must be the foundation of everything. And it clicked in my head. Something classical clicked in my head. And I said, oh, I get it. I understand the burden of sin, right? Because I was a Bible scholar. I was a student.
Okay,
of the
so
what
Bible.
do you mean by that? I have a question.
So
You understand the burden of sin. What did you?
I don't think he was a Bible scholar. I think he was just a very active Christian